what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Cummins garage. Today I'm going to be showing you how to change the rear output shaft seal on the transfer case of Old Blue. So it sprung a leak, and just like my other truck maybe 5-6 years ago, the back seal on the transfer case sprung a leak. So I'm going to be doing this one, and I'm going to make another video because why not? I've got the seal here. What we need to do in order to change this seal is pull out the drive shaft, drop the hanger bearing on the club cab trucks, and then we can take the seal out, take the back part of the transfer case out, put in the new seal, and then put in some new RTV, and then we'll be back in business. So I'll show you the parts here, and then we'll get to work. Okay, here's the seal. It's an SKF part 21213. This is what the seal looks like. Okay, before we take the drive shaft out, just put a piece of wood under one of the tires. Okay, so here's just a look at the drip coming down from the transfer case. Just following the drip up. So it looks like it's kind of dripping down right there. You'd think it's from the plug, but it's actually, looks like it's kind of just, it's probably coming down from here and then going that way to the lowest point. But it's coming out of this seal here. Drips down and then down. So what we're going to do is take the drive shaft out, and then we'll be able to pull this this entire piece off here, and then we can replace the seal on it. I don't have a gasket between here and here, so we're just going to use RTV, and then we'll be able to put it back together. So the first thing I'm going to do is drop the hanger bearing, and then I'll drop the caps off of the fixed yoke on this side, and then I'll keep the U-joint caps on the rear end and just move the drive shaft out of the way, and I'll be able to have access to this.
Give it time. I know that I'm not easy. This cold heart of mine, she really took a beating before you. You stuck through blizzards, winter nights with you. Now I'm blooming just for you. For you, there's nothing I wouldn't do. For you, there's nothing I wouldn't do. For you.
Okay, so I've got the old part cleaned up. I just used a wire brush on a drill to clean off the old gasket that was on this surface. And I've pulled the seal, the old seal out of there, so I'll be able to drive the new one in now that everything's cleaned off. And I have a special seal driving kit that I can use to drive that seal in. I'm just going to maybe lubricate the outer edges here so it goes in a little bit easier. When you're installing it, make sure the spring is facing inwards. So it's like this. There's 2 lips on the seal. You can see the spring on the inside. The deeper edge goes to the inside. So this is the race and seal driver set that I'm going to be using. You can drive steel races with this, as well as drive in new seals. Alright, so I've got the transfer case surface all cleaned up here as best as I could. What I'm going to do now is apply RTV to the piece that's off, around all the bolt holes and on the flat surfaces, and then I'll be able to reinstall that piece now that I've installed the new seal in there.
There's nothing I wouldn't do. For you, there's nothing I wouldn't do. For you.
Okay, so what I've done is, now that I had the RTV placed on there, I put this whole piece back on. It can only go on one way. There's a oil drain back valve at the bottom here. I tightened down all the bolts just snug until a little bit of RTV spilled out the sides. I'm gonna let it set up for an hour, and then I'll torque it down to spec. Okay, it's been about an hour here. I'm gonna tighten these down. The torque spec on these guys is 40 foot-pounds. Okay, before putting on this, the fixed yoke, there's this rubber gasket, and it goes on just on the end of the splines for the output shaft of the transfer case. Now this one's a bit messed up, so if you can, buy a new one before you do this. I forgot to, so I'm going to put a little bit of RTV around the outside here, so that way it seals to the inner splines of the yoke when I put it back on. And then I'll put a bit of RTV on the top, but once the yoke's fully in there. When I took this fixed yoke off, I marked it down here with a scribe, as well as on the end of this shaft, so that I put it roughly in the same position. It shouldn't matter, but it's good to do these sort of practices while you do this. Okay, so putting this washer back on, just clean it up a little bit, and then we'll put the fixed yoke nut on. Okay, the torque spec on this nut is 130 foot-pounds. All right, at this point we can throw the drive shaft back in there. All right, so that wraps up the output shaft seal replacement for the NP205 in old blue. Hopefully that helps if you're trying to do the same project in your truck. And thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers.